Strange, mysterious things can often be waiting to be discovered in the swampy marshlands across the world. Due to the strange ecosystem that lurks here and the inhospitable environment to navigate, very few will dare to venture off here. From antique abandoned cars to endangered wildcat species,
here are strange things found in swamps.
But first, congrats to Claude12AJ for being the first one to comment on our strangest X-ray photos video. Nicely done. Do your best to be the first one to comment, and there's always a good chance you'll get featured. Number 11. Runaway slave camps. Throughout the snake and mosquito-infested swamps across the southeastern United States, swamps have been used as a good place to escape civilization and live off the land. Not everyone could manage living in this kind of environment, but when you got nothing to lose, it might be your only choice. Located in North Carolina is a place known as the Great Dismal Swamp, and it was home to the largest community of runaway slaves in the US. The vegetation here was so thick that it would have been impossible to get here by horseback. The Maroons either had the choice of living on a plantation or to put up with the humid and unsanitary conditions of the swamp here. Some chose the swamp. Archaeologists in 2016 came across relics from the past that belonged to not only slaves but Native Americans as well. The inhabitants of this marshy land would survive off wild pigs, fish, corn, and whatever they could find. Number 10. Water spouts. Swamps are home to some of the strangest weather out there. While it is common for it to be rainy and humid, in some places, other forms of weather can actually cause wildlife to fall from the sky. While the Bible has explained frogs falling from the sky as a wretched curse during the Exodus, water spouts can cause this to happen. Water spouts are tornadoes, basically, that can occur over small bodies of water like streams, lakes, ponds, and other places where swamp creatures might be hanging out at. The water tornadoes send these animals flying, and it seems like it's raining frogs in some cases. Easy to see how this could really shock people. This can also knock over boats if it's powerful enough, and if one flies through a swamp, it might be raining crawdads for the swamp residents. It's not a common phenomena, but it's been known to happen nonetheless. Number 9. Algae sludge. While Florida is a beautiful place that attracts many tourists all around the world, it's home to swampy lakes that have become heavily polluted in recent years. This resulted in the spewing of highly toxic man-made algae that has the consistency of guacamole into Lake Okeechobee and the Atlantic Ocean. However, you will not be putting this onto your burrito anytime soon, considering that it is extremely stagnant and hundreds of tons of toxic phosphorus are pumped in here each year. This is becoming a swamp of nightmares. It's already suffocated many fish, clams, and other wildlife after it began infesting the Florida's Treasure Coast. This led to them closing down the beaches. If you make contact with this sludge, it has the potential to shut down your liver. Many point the finger at increased fertilizer in agriculture, phosphorus pollution, and manure from livestock, which drain into Lake Okeechobee. Florida's climate is perfect for growing sugar, and the successful plantations here have come at an environmental price. This toxic swamp is taking over Florida, and politicians are very confused about what to do. Other places like China, like you see in this photo of the boy trying to swim through the green algae sludge, has also had a similar problem in recent years. Number 8. Mastodon fossil discovery. Although mastodon fossil discoveries are scattered throughout the world, this is quite an impressive find considering that our ancient ancestors have actually eaten it. Fossil hunters in Florida found bones of a mastodon that they believe were the leftovers of an ancient tribe. Crew uncovered a handful of bones that contained knife marks, meaning the bones were scraped for the meat that was once on them. Here you see the parallel grooves that was evidence of this being used as a food source. Stone tools like you see here were found at the site that were actually pretty sharp, but it would have taken some time ripping the meat off the bones. These artifacts were actually found at Page Ladson Sinkhole, just southeast of Tallahassee. Normally, fossil hunters tend to prefer dry and cooler regions because decomposition can occur quite drastically in swamps. Number 7. Massive sinkholes. Massive sinkholes have certainly been known to form in swampy areas, and some believe that Lake Okeechobee was just a massive sinkhole that got filled up by rainwater, although this theory is debated. Other sinkholes can occur underneath bodies of water in swamps, which will ultimately make the swamps deeper. Nonetheless, sinkholes are a common feature in the Florida landscape, and it's because of the rock that makes up the soil, becoming eroded over time from acidic water. Slowly but surely, these sinkholes will gradually form, and many are just waiting to collapse at any moment. Human activity is another reason for sinkholes, especially from excavation work or from overpumping of groundwater. There's one case in Louisiana where a massive sinkhole was created from an underground salt mining company that caused 40-foot trees to become completely submerged, like we see in this photo. Number 6. Panthers. You might be familiar with the Florida Panthers hockey team, but could panthers really exist out there in the swampy lands of the state? Or was it just a random name they gave the team? The answer is yes, but they are extremely rare. This is an endangered type of puma that roams around the swampy lands of the southern states. It's very similar to a cougar or mountain lion, but has small adaptations to live in swampy lands. It's not actually a panther despite the name, and there's an estimated 230 living out there. This large carnivore only has one other predator besides man, and that's the Florida alligator. Their diet consists of small animals like hares, mice, birds, but they've been known to eat large animals such as wild boar, deers, and storks. Occasionally they do come out as victors when they fight against the alligators, and they will eat those as well. Number 5. Poverty Point, Louisiana. A prehistoric people in northeastern Louisiana found a way to tame the inhospitable swampy land well before the arrival of the Europeans and as far back as 1600 BC. This is possibly the most important archaic Native American site in certified swamp country. Back when it was built, it was completely surrounded by swamp trees and streams. It's basically a complex of earth mounds, and the original purpose for the construction has still not been determined. Some contemplate that it was an important trading site near the Mississippi River. Archaeologists have described it as the largest and most complex earthwork occupation and ceremonial site ever found in North America. It was declared as a National Historic Landmark back in 1962, but it's earned some prestige throughout the years. Finally, in 2013, it was declared a UNESCO World Heritage Site, which will certainly keep anyone from constructing a plantation here. It rivals with Cahokia for importance, considering how old it is. It's an interesting place to explore on Google Earth as well, and you can take your own guess on what was placed here. Some claim that this stream here came after a giant flood, which brought an end to the settlement. Number 4. Abandoned automobile. Since vegetation grows so quickly in swampy areas, when something gets abandoned, it's normally consumed entirely by vegetation around it. When people go hiking through the thick fauna of swampy lands, they might come across something like this. This photo was captioned as an abandoned Jeep that someone found in the woods when they were hiking through their dad's property. It certainly appears to have been there for quite some time, and we're guessing it's a Jeep from the early 1940s, but it's hard to tell exactly where it came from because of the angle of the photo. Do you think there's any way it still runs? It's unbelievable how people can place things in such swampy areas that seem so remote. Some people believe it was placed there by the previous owner of the house after he passed away, and the trees just simply grew. Let us know what car you think this is in the comments section, and if we think you're right, maybe we'll feature you in an upcoming video. Number 3. Swamp gas explosions. This might sound similar to something that happens after a dinner at a Taco Bell, but spontaneous swamp gas explosions are real and you need to watch out. This is what caused the Grand Riviera Princess Hotel explosion in 2010. This took place near the city of Cancun, and many were unsure what had caused it right away. Some had originally believed it was from terrorism because Western tourists made up most of the casualties, but the only culprit here was the sneaky swamp gas. Since things tend to rot much quicker in swamps, it creates larger amounts of methane and also hydrogen sulfide as well as carbon dioxide. In certain cases, when heat, fuel, and oxygen get added to the mix, it can cause spontaneous natural explosions. Although carbon dioxide gets a bad rap for being a greenhouse gas, methane is much worse and much more flammable. It turns out to be a byproduct of anaerobic bacterial decomposition of vegetation underwater. So keep in mind that swamps are not only loaded with bacteria, but also explosive gas. Number 2. A zombie virus? So, still skeptical about the zombie apocalypse, are you? Swamps are a breeding ground for all kinds of parasites, microorganisms, and fungi, and it's very possible that one day it will become the breeding ground for the zombie apocalypse pathogen. The high water temperatures and stagnancy make for the perfect area for a rare amoeba called Naegleria fowleri. Stuff like this is the reason why they add chlorine to pools. This is also known as the brain-eating amoeba. First, it travels through your nose and then makes its way into your brain, which can become fatal. A real case from a young girl in Arkansas, Kaylee Hardig, who swam through swampy water in 2016, started becoming mysteriously tired all the time. It turns out she had the parasite. Luckily, she survived the ordeal, but she was one of the only few lucky survivors out there. Only 3 people have survived this frightening infection, and there's less than a 1% chance of making it out alive. The first symptoms include the loss of smell and taste, while the amoeba is eating your brain. Literally. Then, it starts to eat parts that protect the central nervous system. This sends white blood cells rushing to the brain, causing swelling, vomiting, and stiff limbs. It keeps getting worse though. Once it attacks the frontal lobes of the victim, they start to hallucinate and are in a state of delirium. Finally, it'll reach the brainstem, where they'll all die from respiratory failure in less than about 2 weeks. Although it's quite rare, it does seem to affect quite a few people in the southeastern United States, so watch out. And number 1, swamp monsters. Legends of swamp monsters existing in the Louisiana Bayou have circulated since the French settled this region back in the 1600s, and from Native American tribes as well. The Cajun people know it as rougarou. This creature is said to be a werewolf that inhabits the swampy lands around the southern area of Louisiana. It's been passed down from quite a few vocal legends, so it's quite difficult to know exactly what the original sighting was. Some claim that it's a human-like creature with the head of a wolf, while others believe it's a blood-sucking vampire-type creature that's created under the spell of voodoo. The story has possibly evolved to keep children of the bayou in check and to keep them from going out at night. Whatever the case may be, there's still a large amount of alligators, panthers, and brain-eating amoebas out there that could get them if the swamp monster doesn't. Hey guys, thanks for watching, and be sure to hit that subscribe button for new videos every day.